Hi, I'm back today following my affordable interior mods to the expensive mods to take you from this to this. So these are the main costs, the main lumpy items you're going to need to convert your van into a camper van. Part 2 of this, I'm going to be showing you some additional items which you probably wouldn't have actually thought of, but just to make your life in a camper van that little bit better. So please do tune in for that. Today I'm going to be outlining the items which you're going to need for your camper van conversion. In a future video, I'm going to be concentrating in a little bit more detail on what each of these different aspects is and why the conversion costs can vary so much from one converter to another. So let's get started. So I'm starting with something which might seem really obvious, and that's sound deadening and insulation. So your sound deadening is going to be the first stage of it, with the 4 stages. Then you'd be followed by the thermo liner, then the fleece, and then on top of that you'd have the carpet. Now, unless you specify you want that high quality product and all of those stages, it won't be done. I have seen an £85,000 van with shocking sound deadening and insulation. Absolutely unbelievable. But the customer didn't specify actually what they wanted in the van. It wasn't there, and it was just a basic material that was put there. The panels were not dead at all. It was pretty bad. For £85,000, you'd be expecting a lot more than that. So as you might have seen in my previous videos, I've actually gone for the full 4 stages, and it's made a heck of a difference. Really big difference. Really pleased that I've gone for it. And the cost doesn't need to be excessive, especially if you're doing it yourself. Costs can vary hugely on a DIY. Even for quite a few of the stages, you could probably pick up bargains of £200 if it was cheap, which you was after. A lot of the suppliers for insulation and sound deadening online come with packages, so they might include your Dodo Mat Hex, and then it'll include a bit of fleece liner and then carpet on top. So costs do vary quite drastically between the quality of the products and also the area. For a DIY job, you could be spending £200, £500 or so. Obviously, if you go into a converter to get it done, then it is going to cost you that more, because obviously you've got their labour on top. So you've got your insulation to make sure that the vehicle is going to retain its heat. It's also going to make sure that the vehicle doesn't heat up as much in summer because of the insulation which you've got in here. But what if you need to generate some heat? You need a diesel heater. So diesel heaters, big price range here. A lot of people at the moment are going for the Chinese diesel heaters, which are really cheap, £100 or so. I'm not going to get into that today of what my thoughts on them are, but make sure that they're certified, make sure that they are fully tested and you do know what you're buying. Some of the installers out there will install these Chinese heaters, but they're actually replacing some of the key components. Now, if the converters who are knowledgeable on these heaters are actually replacing some components before they install them, that does tell me something, that the ones which are directly off the shelves might not be as good quality as people think. Make sure you do your homework on that. So in addition to that, you've obviously got the well-known reputable brands as far as heaters concerned. You've got the Autotherm Planar, you've got the Eberspacher, you've got the Webasto. Several different products out there. These are all on the higher price side of these heaters, and they've all got different functionalities. Digital programmers, you can access them on your phone, you can use an app to access them. You've got nice fancy digital screens, and you can do all sorts of different things with them to make sure that the temperature which you need is going to be there when you need it. Now obviously these are going to be costing you a lot more. I think they're between about £700 to £1,400 for the bells and whistles, getting everything on there of all those features which I've just mentioned. So do your research on them, speak to people who you know who've got heaters installed, find out what the good things have been for them, what the bad things. They cost a lot of money, so you need to make sure that the one which you're getting is going to be suitable for you. So a diesel heater, the perfect choice to be getting that heat in your vehicle to make sure that you're warm on those cold summer nights, or if you're camping out in the shoulder months, or even in the cold of winter. The heater is going to generate that heat, make sure you're nice and toasty and warm in your van. So to obviously power your diesel heater, you're going to need some kind of electrical installation. Now, yes, you could run this off the starter battery, but barely anybody does, because most people have got an electrical system installed. Now again, this could be quite a lumpy cost, but it all depends on what you need your electrics for. Do you just need 12 volt system, or do you need 240 volts? If you need 240 volts, Do you need that when you're off-grid? Or are you only ever going to need it when you're actually hooked up at a campsite? These are all questions which you need to know. The devices which you're going to be using from them, calculate what your power consumption is going to be. LED lights, what LED lights have you got and when are they going to be on? The fridge you've got, what amperage is the fridge going to be drawing from your system? If you've got mobile phones and laptops and various other devices, charging devices, if you've got an e-bike which you're going to be charging. There's so many different elements of a electrical system. It's very, very difficult to say how much it's going to cost. A basic 12-volt system with a battery, a DC to DC charger or a voltage sensitive relay. If you've got a much older vehicle, that's a problem which I can come on to in a later video. Your basic system is not going to be costing you an awful lot. But again, even though when you talk about battery, what battery are you going to be going for? Is it going to be an AGM? Is it going to be a lithium battery? Because there's a vast cost difference as far as that's concerned. If you're off grid, how long are you going to be off grid for? Even if you're not using the 240 volt off grid, in which case you would need an inverter, and obviously you're going to need a more robust system. How long do you need that battery to operate for? Are you going to need a solar panel on the roof to make sure that it's keeping that leisure battery topped up? Or are you going to be doing regular driving with your DC to DC charger to ensure that capacity is there? What capacity of battery do you need? Are you going to be happy with an AGM battery of 110 amp hour, which you can actually only use 50% of? Or are you going to want a lithium battery, in which case you can actually use more of that 110 amp hour or 100 amp hour, whatever the size battery is? These are all questions which you're going to need to answer before you can actually look into a system. A basic 12 volt system, you're not going to need as many components, so the cost of it is going to be quite small. Obviously you're going to have your leisure battery, which is going to be your reasonable amount. You'll have your DC to DC charger or the much cheaper voltage sensitive relay, but only if your van is capable of using one of those. And you could be looking at a couple of £100, or you could get a pre-built kit for a little bit more, which includes all the components exactly as what you need, with instructions how to fit them. Obviously my system is a little bit more because I've got the solar panel on the roof, I've got the Victron components to ensure that the system is safe, I've got the DC to DC charger, the solar charger, the battery protect. There's a lot of components in there, including the inverter itself, so my system is obviously a lot more. But do you need that? That met my requirements, but it might not meet yours. So £300 might be okay for you, whereas a £2,000 system or even more might be suitable for somebody else. If you do a DIY, I really would highly recommend, especially if you're going to be using 240 volts from an inverter or from an electric hookup, get it checked out by an electrician. Go to your specialist, go to somebody who's certificated to actually have a look through the system, make sure that there's no faults on there, because the last thing which you want to do is have a fire in your van because of some dodgy wiring there. So do make sure you have it checked. Shouldn't cost an awful lot of money, maybe an hour's labour for somebody to have a look. It'd be money well spent. So pop top, everybody loves a pop top, and there are so many different options. I mean, you've even got to start from, do you want it opening from the front? Do you want it opening from the rear? Do you want it opening from the side? That's your kind of starting point. What kind of canvas do you want? Do you want a canvas which opens up? How high do you want the pitch of the pop top? Do you want the rear of it to lift up as well, so it gives you even more room? There's so many different brands out there. You've got your Oztops, your Westubs, your SCAs, your Remos, your Altitude roofs. There's so many different ones. They all offer something different. This is the slimmest pop top. This is the highest pop top. The choices are endless. There are so many different ones, even the fastenings on them. You've obviously seen the ones with the cord fastenings. Well, now you've got ones which you can pop 2 keys in and lock it. So is that more convenient for you, or do you want that one? How does the canvas fold in? When you pull that roof down, do you have to make sure that you've pulled all the canvas in so it doesn't actually tear? Because a lot of people tear the canvases because they don't put it down properly. Or has it got a built-in mechanism to make sure that the canvas gets pulled in on its own so it doesn't actually do any damage? Pop tops, you will see them advertised from £2,000, £200, but actually when you start looking into them and you think, well, I need a bed, I want a quality mattress on that, I want a canvas which completely opens up so I can have it completely open, Do you need windows in it? You know, what kind of mattress do you want in the bed which is being provided? There's tons and tons of options. You know, you can even have electrical ones. You don't have to actually worry. You know, you've probably seen the Californias where you just press a button and the roof goes up and the roof comes down. Brilliant. You can get those for your conversions as well. So yeah, starting point might be £2,300, £2,500, but realistically with the options and the extras which you want, you're probably going to be looking at a lot more than that. But again, the features are going to be dependent on what you want for your van. That's the starting point, but I am going to be explaining a little bit more about that in the future, showing you a few different pop tops and the options which are available for them. So speaking of sleeping, you're going to be wanting a bed, or you might be wanting a bed. Not everybody does. Sometimes some people have a pop top with a bed upstairs and then don't actually bother having a bed downstairs. But if you are, you've got two main options. You've got the rib bed and you've also got a rock and roll bed, and there's various different derivatives of each of these. So sometimes you might see a bed on sliding rails, different width beds, different sizes, different materials, different compositions. Some of them will be electric, some of them will cost an absolute load of money, and when others don't. What's the difference between them? Like I say, I will come on to that in a future video, but just as an example, I've seen one of the most expensive beds I have ever seen. It was a ridiculous amount of money. Fantastic electrical bed, absolutely brilliant. You know, it pressed a button and the bed came down. It was useless. It covered the fridge. When the actual bed came down, it blocked access to the fridge. So if you're in bed and you're in the morning and you wake up and you want a brew, you've actually got to put the bed back up before you can get in the fridge. What's the point in that? So being more expensive doesn't always necessarily mean it's going to be better. So the two types of bed, as I've mentioned, the rib bed is generally the most expensive bed. So what this does, this comes down and it actually uses the back of the seats to sleep on, which usually allows more storage behind the seats, and it also allows more storage underneath the actual bed itself because it is that little bit higher. Which does mean if you're a short person or you're a child and you're actually sat in the back of the vehicle in a travelling position, it might mean that your feet don't actually touch the floor. But these do offer quite a few benefits and is definitely becoming the most popular type of bed. The rock and roll bed is generally a lot cheaper, can often be half the price. It's not meant to be as comfy, but I have heard that there are a lot of these iterations now which are coming out which are actually more comfier than the rib beds, so it's well worth getting it checked out. But generally they are not as comfy because they are cheaper made. As I say, you are actually sleeping on the seat itself, so the seat in the upright position effectively just folds down and you would actually sleep on that. A lot of the time it leaves very little space in the rear of the vehicle behind the seat, so you're not going to have so much storage space behind that seat, which then means once you're travelling, your luggage etc. has to be in between the front seats and the rear seats, which isn't actually ideal. And also with your new bed, you're going to want to make sure that it matches the front seats, because otherwise it's just going to look a little bit odd. So some of the manufacturers you can actually get, if you're still using the VW factory materials, they will actually be able to produce the bed in the same material, the same cloth, the same leather, so that it does actually match. The other option to that is having it upholstered, and you could have the whole of the vehicle reupholstered into the material which you choose. Doing this, there is obviously another benefit in the fact that the front seats, you can be added with additional padding. And a lot of companies now will actually retrofit heated seat elements whilst they're actually redoing, reupholstering those seats for you. So obviously, again, going to cost you a little bit more money, but you do really need your front and your rear seats matching. It'd be a little bit odd if you didn't really. So if you've decided on your rear bed, you've decided how many seats you're actually going to want on there, because obviously, as I said, you've got the different width. You know, how many people are in your family, and how many people are going to be travelling in the vehicle. You know, if you've got two captains up front and then you've got two seats in the back with the conversion, but you've actually got 5 people who need to travel, you're missing a seat. So you're going to have 3 seats in the back, or you're going to have to turn the front captain into a twin seat. But the easiest way to do it there, and which a lot more people are opting for now, is having the triple rear seat and then having slimline units. So a lot of the kitchens which you see, the generic ones which kind of come off the shelf, you know, your generic cheap ones which are really are cheap, mass produced, they will be the wider ones, so you've actually only got 2 seats in the back. But you can have slimline, so you've got your 3 seats. So that's one of the first things to be started to consider. And then also, what layout do you want? What do you want in there? Do you want a gas cooker, a gas hob? Because I'm speaking to so many people at the moment and they're saying, oh yeah, we've got the hob in there, but we don't use it, we've never used it. Well, why did you convert it then with the gas hob in there? What's the point? You know, if you've got your Kodak and you've got your jet boil or whatever it is which you're using to boil your water, why did you bother spending so much money on a gas hob? It just seems pointless. You know, you can use that space for something else. So have a think about what you're going to be doing, what you're actually going to be using that vehicle for. Because that workspace area with the expensive sink and the expensive hob, because they don't come cheap, you've obviously had to have a gas registered person to actually install that for you because it's gas. There's no point having it if you're not going to be using it. You know, get your Kodak with your Kodak bottle or your what other camping gas type thing you want, and just do without that. Which also leads on to a fridge, because at the moment a lot of people are buying these portable, because the technology's come on so much. You can get these portable compressor fridges, so they're buying these and putting them in the back of the van when they've actually got a fridge there. Well, what's the point in that? You know, you've got 2 fridges there, which not only is it drawing more amperage from the vehicle battery, which I've mentioned, so your actual system needs to be capable of doing that, but you're doubling up on what you've got. So if you do fancy using a portable fridge, then why not have the kitchen units cut out so it accepts that portable fridge unit, as opposed to having one of the expensive Dometic Frigo Alpicool ones such as that. You know, you can use your portable, and then you can take it out to wherever you're going. If you're taking it down to the beach or out on a football field, or you know, wherever you're going with it, you can take it there and you're not actually duplicating on what you've got. So just have a think about what you want. You don't have to go for those generic units. Like I say, the units themselves, they are cheap. You know, have a look around on the furniture, the websites. You will see that they are cheap. Go for something different. You know, try and be a little bit different. You know, a lot of the ones now have got the soft closed drawers, no physical buttons on them. You just push the actual drawer in and it pops out, and they're really good designs, just a little bit different, and at the moment not everybody's got those, so it's good. And the worktops, you know, you can get solid wood worktops. I'm not talking, you know, your big 38mm which you've got in your kitchen at home, but you know, a good quality material, and it looks better. You know, you see these high-end conversions at the moment, and the ones which have got the solid wood worktops, they do look far superior than some of the other ones. So have a good look around and see what there is. You'd be surprised at some of these products which are there, and you can really make it different if you're not just thinking along the lines of, well, that's what they've done, so that's what I'm going to get. I'm going to be going into a lot more detail on some of the components which I've discussed today, your different options available in each of these different categories, but surely the most expensive conversion is the best one to have, isn't it? You would be very surprised. If you haven't seen my video on exterior mods, do have a look at that there. For now, thanks for watching, take care, I shall see you soon.